when I first started going to the temple. Those were the days where in the movement, of course, Prabhupada was here, and it was a very exciting time to be part of the pioneering of the Hare Krishna movement. There was a book written at some time then called the Hare Krishna Explosion. It was, in fact, like an explosion. But there was a lot of work involved, and Prabhupada worked very hard and made his disciples also work very hard. And for that we are blessed with this organization, ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And you were, looks like everyone here is from India. Yes? No? Oh, Fiji. Indian background. And England. Oh. Where? Oh, Ireland, really? Wow. Indians from Ireland. Okay. Hong Kong. Wow. Okay, multi-Indians. Multi-Indian background. But ultimately you're coming from India. And I mentioned this, I did a program in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, also an Indian group like this that gets together once a week, rents a room. There's lots of them now. I'm going to Delaware in August. It's a big group in Delaware, also starting a temple. But it's all Indian, which is good. So that Indians, Lord Chaitanya ordered anyone born in India should take Krishna consciousness and teach it to everyone else. So, but there's one problem, is I don't see a lot of Westerners joining anymore, like they used to. So, that's not what this discussion is about. Maybe we could talk about that some other time. But, yes, the Westerners are not joining so much anymore. But, so this discussion is about the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium, Prabhupada's dream project. And it's more than Prabhupada's dream project. This is the vision of the Acharyas and of Lord Nityananda as well. But I'm going to begin it a little differently. I'm not just going to go right into the Temple of the Vedic Planet. I'm going to show I was going to show something first, but I'm going to show it after. But first I'm going to kind of do a presentation that leads into it to help us understand and to remind me of the importance of this temple. It's not just another project of ISKCON, although it is a project of ISKCON, but it's not just like another temple. You know, there are a lot of temples around the world that are being funded and being built, and communities are trying to develop, etc., and as the movement grows. But this particular project is not just another temple project. And nor is it one man's project. It's like Ambarish, the great-grandson of Henry Ford, he is Prabhupada's disciple also, and he is the person who has financed so far the construction and the planning of this temple. But it's not his project. Yeah, he has millions of dollars. He's given almost $30 million to this project, but it's not his project either. So now he's taken a different stance and would like to get other devotees involved. So, but I'll get to that. But let me start, in order to appreciate the importance and significance of this project, with Krishna, the beginning of everything. Krishna, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Nadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. He is the source of everything, but he has no source. Yeah. That's good, better. Hare Krishna. So we begin with Krishna, the cause of all causes. So you may all know this already, but it's good to hear it again and again and again, because to remember Krishna, what is that verse? Smartavyam sadatam Vishnu. Anyway, this is a verse, Vedic verse about remembering Vishnu. And of course, Krishna says, Manmana bhava madbhakta madhyaji mam namaskuru. So, we never get tired of hearing these things. So, Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. In our Vaishnava lineage, we are devotees of Krishna. And in this parampara coming from Brahma, the creator of the universe, we accept that Krishna is the original Vishnu, the original Narayan, the original person, and all of the other expansions come from him. Krishna is not an incarnation of Vishnu, but technically is not correct, but there's nothing wrong in saying that. You wouldn't want to curse someone for saying that, or say that they're wrong or they're not a devotee or something because they say that, but it's technically not correct. That Krishna is the original Vishnu. And there's a lot of evidence for that, but we're not going to discuss that. So Krishna has his first expansion. You know who that is? Who's the first expansion of Krishna? He knows, he just said, right? Balaram, Krishna's brother is Balaram. His first expansion. From Balaram there is another set of expansions called the Quadruple Expansion. It's Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And then another 4 expansions, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and again. And then besides those, there are the infinite Narayan expansions of Krishna and Vishnu, and of Krishna, that each has their own abode within Vaikuntha world, and their devotees and their pastimes and leelas, and these things are going on eternally in the spiritual world, which is described as 3/4 of the entire existence. Now, that 3/4, we give it a sort of a mental picture, 3/4, the material world is 1/4, but really the 3/4 is infinite. It's not beyond time and space. But we give it some kind of limits in a material sense just to understand the size of the spiritual realm. It's infinite, because the material realm is also practically infinite. So these are the expansions. Then once again, Sankarshan expands as Mahavishnu, or the first Vishnu, Karanadakshayi Vishnu. And this Karanadakshayi Vishnu, gigantic, huge form of Vishnu, lies on the Karana ocean, which is a spiritual body of water that separates this material realm from that spiritual realm of Vaikuntha. We should also know that in the spiritual realm, Krishna's abode, Goloka Vrindavan, is the topmost realm. And then even within that realm, there's Svetadvip, which is the abode of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the combined form of Radha and Krishna. All these things have very detailed explanations, but we're just giving an overview now. So Mahavishnu lies on the ocean, Karana ocean. He breathes, just like we breathe. So this great Godhead also breathes, And as he breathes from the pores of his transcendental body, all of the universes emanate like small golden seeds or eggs. And they float on this Karana ocean and they expand and so on and so forth. Then this Mahavishnu expands within every universe again as another Vishnu. See, we need to know these things because this gives us an understanding of the greatness of God. Just, the Western religions say God is great, but they don't really understand how great God is, to what degree. Within the time of Mahavishnu's one exhalation, all the universes are created. And at the time of his inhalation, all the universes are destroyed. How much is going on during that time of his one exhalation and inhalation? And his dream, as he dreams in a yoga nidra, sleep of yoga, his dream is the very substance of our so-called reality. So great a personality is Mahavishnu, and he is a part of Krishna. So this Mahavishnu expands again within every single universe. These universes are compared to a mustard seed in a bag of mustard seeds. You get from India a big 100-pound sack of mustard seeds. So one mustard seed is like a universe. And he expands within every universe and again lies at the bottom of the universe. Each universe is half filled with water, the Garbhodak ocean. He lies on Ananta Shesh and at the bottom of the universe. The universe is dark, but he's lying there, he's effulgent and in his yoga nidra again. Then he expands further into an incredible array of manifestations as Kshirodakshai Vishnu. First, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, who lies on the ocean of milk. Who ever heard of the ocean of milk? There's an ocean of dude milk. There's also an ocean of liquor, an ocean of ghee, an ocean of yogurt, an ocean of fresh water, salt water, many different oceans. God's creation is not limited to a saltwater ocean. So he lies on the ocean of milk in his abode there, also called Svetadvip, and he further expands into every single atom of the universe. So the scientists can't figure out what is the power of the atom that makes it where everything is composed of atoms, and within the atoms you have even smaller particles, but essentially atoms is what builds the structures of matter. So what is the intelligence, what is the power, the force within the atom? That is Vishnu, Krishna, the intelligence that's within every atom. He also expands in between every atom. So he's there in between every atom, within every atom. And then he also expands into the hearts of all of the jiva souls, the nitya baddha. Two kinds of souls in this material, two kinds of souls. One is called the nitya baddha and the other called the nitya siddha. The nitya baddha is the souls who are within this cosmic manifestation going through the cycle of birth and death. Endless cycle of birth and death. Bound up. Baddha means bound up. Baddha. Nitya. For a very long time. And then the Nitya Siddhas are those who are in the spiritual realm, who are eternally free, eternally liberated. So he expands Kshirodakshai Vishnu expands within the realm of the heart of every conditioned soul within the universe, all the universes. Each universe is Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, and then every heart of every entity, whether it's a bacteria or a cockroach or a mouse or a dog or a tree or a blade of grass, Vishnu is there within the heart of the jiva. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto. Matak smritir jnanam apohanam cha. He's there giving knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness. So that's the extent of the Vishnus. Then besides the Vishnus, in order to reclaim all of the eternally conditioned souls of the universes, Krishna is always appearing as avatars. So these are further expansions. And then there are all kinds of avatars. There's the Leela avatars. There's the Yuga avatars. There's the Manvantara avatars. The Shakyavesh avatars. The Guna avatars. All of these manifestations of the Lord, which are there to remind us of Him, who He is. They come to teach. They come to elevate the souls in this material world. Therefore, there's so many different types of religious systems and paths to Godhead, but they ultimately all lead to devotion or bhakti, which we will get into shortly. So this is a kind of a snapshot picture of the spiritual world, the material world, how everything is here, and the whole purpose of this material existence. It has two purposes, is to fulfill the desires of the forgetful souls. We get our desires fulfilled in our cycle through birth and death in all the different 8,400,000 species of life. And the second purpose is that we have to get out, ultimately, because this is not where we should be. The whole lesson to be learned from the cycle of birth and death is that we do not belong here. We're suffering, really. Even we may have nice material circumstances by our karma. Still, the happiness has to end. Birth, death, disease, old age, things people don't like to hear about or talk about. But these are all facts of existence. So the whole purpose is to get out, and the human form of life is to understand this. This is the message of Godhead. So that whole message is delineated in different ways at different times by different teachers. And again, we have limited time here, but the ultimate purpose of all the different teachings and paths and methods, karma and jnana and yoga and the Vedas and the different portions of the Vedas and the Upanishads and the Puranas, and etc. The whole purpose is to understand Krishna. Again, that verse, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanavishto matak smritir jnanam apohanam cha Vedaischa sarvairaham eva vedya vedanta krid veda vedeva chaham. To understand me, I am the compiler of the Vedas, I am the knower of the Vedas, and throughout all the Vedas, I am all that's to be known. And at the end of chapter 15, Krishna says, Iti guyatamam shastram idam uktam mayanagha etad buddhva buddhiman syat krita krityascha bharata. This is the most confidential understanding of all the Vedic literatures, to understand Krishna. And then the final teaching Krishna also gives in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja ham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. that all of these other systems that I explained to you in the Gita or in the that are there in the Vedas here and there, give them all up and just surrender to me. Become my devotee, worship me, manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vashyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. In so many places, Krishna emphasizes that bhakti is the only way to know Him, the absolute truth. And Arjuna, first of all, confirms that Krishna is the absolute truth. Param Brahma, Param Dava, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. He's the absolute truth, the supreme reality, the all-pervading beauty, the original person. And Krishna says that he can only be understood by devotion. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyas chasmi tattvata. So this is the essence of the Vedic knowledge of spirituality, of yoga, karma, jnana. Ultimately, all of them are stages, and they're to be dropped eventually when one comes to bhakti. That's the ultimate conclusion. Now, that brings us to the next topic, which is a further description of the universe and the cycles of the universe and the processes of self-realization or spirituality. Within the universal order, time is moving in cycles. So we have 4 ages: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. They're just like the seasonal changes. Exactly like the seasonal change. You have the spring, the summer, the fall, and then the winter, and then again spring, summer, fall, winter, just going over and over and over and over again. So the cycles of the universe are the same. There's creation, there's maintenance, gradual decline, and then finally destruction, and then creation again, over and over and over again. This is happening repeatedly. History is not linear, it's cyclical. The modern archaeology and history tries to present everything in a linear sense, that we're progressing from the lower species, amoebas, simple one-celled beings, and become evolved to the sea animals, and then to land creatures and birds and mammals eventually, and monkeys, and eventually human beings, and finally we've gotten to where we are now. But it's all wrong. It's all wrong. The Darwinian theory is on the chopping block. Now, anyway, that's another discussion, but there are many books you can read and many scientists who no longer accept the theory of evolution. So rather, and many people historians and those who study ancient civilizations have come to this conclusion that history is cyclical. Great civilizations have existed in the past, they eventually fizzled out, and then new civilizations came and grew, and they also eventually fizzled out. And Vedic civilization is one of those, except that it's the original and always exists. Sometimes it's more manifest than at other times. But so we have these 4 yugas. There are spiritual paths within each yuga to be followed for salvation, for liberation, moksha. So Satya Yuga is meditation, Treta Yuga is sacrifices, Dvapara Yuga is the worship of deities in the temple, and in Kali Yuga is the chanting of the holy names. These are the prescriptions of the scriptures, the shastras, of the acharyas. Kriteya dhyayato vishnum tretayam yajato makai dvaparam paricharyayam kalo tad hari kirtanat harir nama eva kevalam kalo nasteva gatiranyata. And so many verses are there glorifying the process of chanting the holy names of the Lord, specifically in the age of Kali. So, Kalir doshan ide rajan nasti heka mahadguna kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha paramrajat. It's the only good thing in the age of Kali, with all the bad things happening, is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. This is a couple of quotes. One, this is from Harinam Chintamani by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was the father of Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Now we're talking about the process for the Kali Yuga. Therefore the Lord, thinking of the welfare of the jivas in Kali Yuga, has descended with his name. The Lord descended and preached the path for Kali Yuga, the process of Nam Sankirtan. Since by this process the jiva may directly achieve the highest treasure of Krishna Prema, actual happiness, it is called the major or the chief path, as distinct from the secondary paths of karma and jnana. In this process, all the jiva has to do is sing and remember the name of the Lord constantly. The holy name is Chintamani, the object that gives everything one desires. To the materialists, it gives dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. To the non-fruitive devotees, it gives pure, unalloyed love of Krishna. The name is unlimited, beginningless, and fully conscious, inseparable from the chief consciousness, Krishna. Whatever is in Krishna is in the holy name, for the two are non-different. The name is situated spiritually, eternally free from material contamination, in a state of pure goodness like Krishna. Though descending into the material world, the name remains pure, eternal, and the embodiment of the highest sweetness, rasa. So there we have the religion for the Kali Yuga. It is literally the most esoteric process, and yet the most simple process, both at the same time. Because the holy name of the Lord, chanting the names of the Lord, comes directly from the Vaikuntha. It is not a process of the material world to help us get to Vaikuntha. It is a process from the spiritual world that brings us back to the spiritual world. It is the means and the end in itself. So very important to understand this about the chanting of the holy name. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we were talking about the avatars. So now I'll explain the avatars. Krishna appears once in the day of Lord Brahma. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also appears once in the day of Lord Brahma. And he is the most munificent incarnation of the Lord. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauda Tvishe Namaha. Because he gives to the jivas pure love of God, the greatest gift. In other ages, you had to go through all of these other systems of purification and gradually elevate yourself, and finally, after many lifetimes, you could come to understand Krishna. Bahunam janmanamante gyanavam mam prapajate. But here, the Lord is coming to give his own love in the form of the holy name to the most fallen souls in the Kali Yuga, not Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, but in the Kali Yuga, he's giving this gift. So let's put this in perspective now, because what I'm doing is I'm leading up to this presentation of the temple of the Vedic Planetarium to see how important it is. Before, you remember, I described how Mahavishnu is breathing out the universes. Within his exhalations and inhalations, all the universes are created and destroyed. And during that time period, which for the Lord is only but a few moments, We're going through aeons and thousands and inestimable amounts of time in our experience. So Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma. Once in a day of Brahma. The day of Lord Brahma. Does anyone know how long a day of Lord Brahma is?
Very long. 4 billion years.
4 billion. Yeah. Yes. 12 of his hours, day or night, is 1,000 times the cycle of the 4 yugas. 1,000 times that. It's about 4 billion, I think. 4.3 billion. Now, imagine then he has 365 days and he lives for 100 years. That 100 years is 311 trillion 400 million years, something like that. Incredibly long period of time. So, but Krishna appears only once in that day of Brahma. And also Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only appears once in that time. So for, we take it for granted. Oh yeah, Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago. No big deal. But if you compare it to the infinity of time, it's a fraction of a moment that Krishna appeared. And that's 5,000 years ago. It's almost like we were there practically. What to speak of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared 500 years ago. I mean, you could practically go to Mayapur and see him still dancing. So such a rare occurrence that the Lord appears, and more rare that we happen to be living at that time when the Lord appears. What a wonderful opportunity that we have. We take it for granted. We don't really understand yet the depth of our opportunity, of the mercy that we have, because if we really did, we would be going crazy to chant Hare Krishna and praying to the Lord every moment, please let me chant purely. If we really could conceive of our great fortune. But in any case, intellectually, we can try to understand it a little bit now. And so let me explain then, as Lord Chaitanya appears 500 years ago, the glories of Navadvip and Mayapur, also from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Jaiva Dharma. Because Mayapur is where the Lord appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Goloka, Vrindavan, and Svedadvip are the inner apartments of Vaikuntha. We're talking about the spiritual realm. In Goloka, the sports of Sri Krishna are svakiya, within wedlock. In Vrindavan, they are parakiya, outside wedlock. And in Svedadvip, there is the conclusion thereof. Svedadvip is where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performs his pastimes. There is no difference in the intrinsic nature among Goloka, Vrindavan, and Svedadvip in reality. Sri Navadvip, besides being Svedadvip, is identical with Vrindavan. The inhabitants of Sri Navadvip are very fortunate because they are the associates of Lord Gauranga. It is the result of lots of sukriti that one attains competence for residence in Sri Navadvip, in Sri Vrindavan, living anywhere within 32 miles around Sri Navadvip is equivalent to living in Sri Vrindavan, particularly in Sri Mayapur. Of the 7 holy places giving salvation, Ayodhya, Mathura, Gaya, Kashi, Kanchi, Avanti, and Dwaravati, Sri Mayapur is the most important place of pilgrimage. Sriman Mahaprabhu, with his advent, made his own Svedadvip descend here, and after 4 centuries after the disappearance of Sriman Mahaprabhu, which is about now, this place of pilgrimage, Svedadvip, will be superior to all other places of pilgrimage of the world. Living in this place removes all sins and offenses, and helps pure devotion to grow. Has everyone here been to Mayapur yet?
Yes.
Yes. Raise your hand if you've been to Mayapur, okay? So quite a few of us haven't gone yet. So when you have the opportunity, you go to Mayapur and have some nice parikrams of Lord Gauranga's pastime places. So that is the importance of Navadvip, where Lord Gauranga appears. The most important holy place in the Kali Yuga. More important than Avanti, Gaya, Dwarka, or any of the other holy places of India at the present time. Now,
It's already past the 400 years, right? It's been 500.
yeah, it's now 500, but since 400, it's about the time now that there's another quote from another Bhaktivinoda or somewhere that which I think I have here. Yes, it's the next quote I have here. Yeah, that this it became covered with water, with the Ganga, and so I'll read that. Now I'm going. Right after Mahaprabhu left, very shortly after he left, it was covered with water, the Ganga. And all of the places of pastimes became covered by the Ganga. And then I'll read you now, the next topic is the predictions. Again, to help us get a clear picture of where we are in terms of time and our opportunity and what this temple, Vedic Planetarium temple, stands for. The predictions. This is also, actually I don't know where this originates, but when our Lord Chaitanya disappears, by his desire the Ganges will swell. The water will almost cover Mayapur for 100 years and then recede. For some time only the land will remain devoid of houses. Then by the Lord's desire, Mayapur will again become prominent, and people will live here as before. All the ghats on the bank of the Ganges will again become visible, and the devotees will build temples. In this way, the devotees will reveal the lost places. Know this for certain, at the end of 400 years, the task of recovering the lost holy places will begin. That was more or less the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which is about 100 years ago. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is responsible for discovering all of the holy places of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it was his vision where he actually saw the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, the actual Navadvip. What is Navadvip now is actually another Navadvip. The original Navadvip where Mahaprabhu was born was seen by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and that's where Bhaktivinoda built the Yoga Pit, the temple at the Yoga Pit of Mahaprabhu. So some more predictions from Bhaktivinoda. Actually, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, said, Pritavite achayata nagarade gram sarvatra prachara hoibe moranam. That the chanting of the holy names will be heard in every town and village throughout the world. This is the Lord himself making this prediction 500 years ago. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also predicted, very soon the chanting of Harinam Sankirtan will spread all over the world. Oh, when will that day come when people from America, England, France, Germany, Russia will take up kartals and mridangas and chant Hare Krishna in their towns? When will that day come when the fair-skinned foreigners will come to Sri Mayapur Dham and join with the Bengali Vaishnavas to chant Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, Haribo. When will that day be? He also had this, again, I mentioned the vision from, it wasn't this little confusion, but from the veranda of a dharmashala in the old Navadvip, he saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace, but he also saw, in a vision from his house, he saw this golden city. Across, since you haven't been to Mayapur, the Ganges is flowing right there, and then it turns a little bit and becomes the Jalangi. And on one side of the Jalangi, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house is there. On the other side is our ISKCON Mayapur project. So from the veranda of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house, you can actually see ISKCON Mayapur.
So, Prabhuji, the neem tree which is there near the Gaudiya Mutt, that's where they say
that's the birthplace.
Yeah, Gauranga Prabhu, that's his birthplace.
Yeah.
That's not the right place then?
No, that's the correct place.
That's the correct place.
Yeah, that's the correct yoga
It's
pit.
still there, the mutt is there, the neem tree is there.
Yeah.
And even the saints live there.
Yeah, that's the correct yoga pit. But where Mayapur...
It is right on the way to the Mayapur temple.
Yeah, yes, right on the way. So many places are right there. Srivasanga is also right there on the road. Bhakti Siddhanta Road is what the road is called. So, but Mayapur, where Prabhupada started, that's right across from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he had a vision, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had this vision of a golden city and all the foreigners and the Bengalis chanting together Hari Jai Sachinandana. Lastly, there is the prediction of Nityananda. This is taken from, I thought I had it written here. No, I don't know. Anyway, this is Nityananda's quote. An astounding temple will appear and will engage the entire world in the eternal service of Lord Chaitanya. This was spoken by Nityananda Prabhu to Jiva Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis, and he was predicting that this Adbhuta Mandir would appear in Mayapur and would spread the glories of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. So as far as we are concerned, that's the temple that we're talking about here, the one, because if you look at how everything has systematically developed, you have Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is essentially the pioneer of the revival of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Gaudiya movement in India. He revived it. It had fallen into disarray and forgetfulness, and he revived it, and the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His son, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, established 64 mats throughout India, and further developed Mayapur. And then Prabhupada came, and it was his great vision to develop this temple and to build this huge temple of the Vedic Planetarium, and he gave it his own sort of twist, in a sense. It's not just a temple, it's also a planetarium to challenge the modern scientific view of the universe and of reality in general. So from Mayapur, from that temple, you could say, is stemming all of the preaching is coming from that temple in Mayapur. Everything is coming from Mayapur. Now some predictions about Srila Prabhupada and who he is. What we're talking about very great personalities: Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. These are not ordinary, like we talked about, Badha, Nitya Badhas, conditioned souls. These are Nitya Siddhas, and they come to this material world to assist the Lord in his mission of reclaiming the fallen souls and bringing them back to Vaikuntha. That's their mission, is to help. So we have a few minutes, and then I want to show this video. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also predicted, he made many predictions, and this is one. A personality will soon appear, and he will travel all over the world to spread the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So who else do we know that did that? No one else did that. Only Srila Prabhupada did that. Others tried. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disciples, some of them tried, but they couldn't do it. But Prabhupada tried and did it. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati once also said to his disciples, they were criticizing Prabhupada because he was a grihasta. What is this ordinary grihasta? What can he do? And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said to them, one day he will do everything. And of course we know that on their first meeting, Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, that the first instruction, the first thing that Prabhupada said, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said to Srila Prabhupada was, go preach Krishna consciousness to the English-speaking people. It will do good for you and for them. And so many instructions Bhaktisiddhanta gave to Prabhupada about printing books. He even said, you can sell the marble in the temple and to print books if you have to. That's how important book distribution was to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and then Prabhupada took that mood of printing in books. Prabhupada also said, Krishna told me to write these books. And there's a story about this. On a number of occasions, Prabhupada would be seen to be reading his own books as if he was, getting a sense of enlightenment or something was there that in his own books. And one of his disciples, on a number of occasions, so one time they asked him, Prabhupada, why are you reading your own books? And Prabhupada said, I'm reading these books because I did not write these books. Krishna wrote these books. I was just the instrument. So, and he was astounded at reading his own book, what Krishna made him say. And then there's another wonderful story where Prabhupada explained, and these were very confidential things. Prabhupada was very humble, very, he never tried to attract attention to himself. It's the duty of the disciples to give all attention to the Guru. But Prabhupada never demanded it, although he did instruct us sometimes that we needed to do that, but he himself was very humble, very meek and modest. But one time he said that in the spiritual world I was with Krishna, and Krishna told me to come to the material world. And I didn't want to come to this miserable material world. I disagreed. So Krishna had to make a deal with me. He had to offer something to make me come. So Krishna told me, as Prabhupada said, Krishna told me, you just go and write these books, and I'll take care of everything for you. So we can see what Prabhupada did in the form, even if he did nothing else, just having written all those books with their transcendental knowledge. Such a great accomplishment that no one else has ever done within 10, 12 years. While traveling all over the world, 10 times going around while initiating 5,000 disciples, while writing 10,000 letters to disciples and friends and admirers or to politicians, etc., etc. He was able to write all these books as well. Lastly, this is a quote about Srila Prabhupada. It doesn't mention him by name, but this is a prediction by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, taken from Lochan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Mangala. In the future, this is Lord Chaitanya speaking, in the future my Senapati means general, yes, my great commander-in-chief, will appear to spread the holy name throughout the world. So these are small, just a few indications, predictions of Prabhupada's stature, of who he was. And this person came, and he was certainly the commander-in-chief, especially when he was here, guiding us and goading us and pushing us on to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world and to distribute his books and to take Krishna consciousness seriously and practice it seriously. He was the real commander-in-chief. So this temple of the Vedic Planetarium, Prabhupada was speaking about this for many years. He gave very specific directions about it. And again, he saw this as the greatest preaching tool for his organization, to spread the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to destroy or challenge the modern scientific misconceptions about reality. And he envisioned that thousands and millions of people would come to see this temple from all over the world. So it's a very big, huge structure. You'll hear about it. But I want to read one last thing, which was just sent to me by email. I don't know who is the author, but this is a very nice description of Prabhupada's vision of this temple of the Vedic Planetarium, so that we'll all be inspired to help in some way. I'm personally doing this because I'm very greedy and selfish, because I want the mercy. I'm going around talking about this temple of the Vedic Planetarium, trying to get other people, because I want the mercy too. See, by helping this project somehow. I'm getting older in my years now. I don't work anymore. So this is my main service, is to this temple. And if I can encourage all of you to participate and put your heart behind this temple in some way or other to make it happen for Srila Prabhupada. I remember when Prabhupada wanted things done, they would get done. When the Krishna Balaram temple was under construct, or when that idea came for the Krishna Balaram construction, everybody got into gear. The whole movement, thousands of disciples who were out collecting funds, or actually most of the funds came by distributing his books, and the profits would go to construction of temples, and then we had Mayapur was being built and other projects. These things would get done because everybody thought, oh, Prabhupada wants this, we have to do this. So we'd like to revive that mood so that all of us can feel that vibrant ecstasy of serving the order of Srila Prabhupada, the Acharya of ISKCON. So let me read this. The vision of the Sri Mayapur project was born from a seed mantra spoken to Jiva Goswami by Lord Nityananda, whom we know as an incarnation of Lord Balaram. The mantra spoken 500 years ago foretells the temple destined to have a powerful influence on the world. This is what I read before. An astounding temple will appear and will engage the entire world in the eternal service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As ripples spread out when a stone is dropped in a pool of water, the Sri Mayapur project embodies the multiple emanations from the original divine vibration spoken by Lord Nityananda. Lord Nityananda's seed mantra revealed the vision for the great temple, and a succession of our saintly gurus has worked diligently to bring forth that vision. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur expanded the vision to include a temple town with residents from all countries. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati built a major temple at Lord Chaitanya's birthplace. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada defined the size and the design details of the temple and town. He also bought the land, laid the cornerstone, and left the royalties from his numerous books to help fund the construction. Srila Prabhupada gave his disciples the task of completing the Mayapur project. He described a glowing vision of the temple of the Vedic Planetarium, a sacred structure that will not only be a great place of worship, but will also challenge the predominant atheistic doctrines of these times. The temple will house detailed exhibits showing a God-centered universe that provides opportunities for a personal relationship with the Supreme. When an honest and intelligent person understands that he is a speck in the universe created by God, he naturally wants to connect with that God and understand his role in God's plan. The Vedic Planetarium will describe all the physical details of the universe and their relationship to God. It will encourage a sense of wonder in the creation and in the hand behind it. Srila Prabhupada's mission was to establish the best method of God realization for this confused age, namely the glorification of the holy names of God. Constructing this temple helps to strengthen the foundation of his spiritual movement and leaves a legacy of his work. The religion of the holy name has its sacred place, the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. Building a great temple here at this focal point has enormous potential to inspire faith and enthusiasm in people everywhere. We sincerely believe it is time to take this vision of Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas to heart. We do not want to waste this opportunity. This glorious temple can be built within this decade. We have completed most of the superstructure. We are now beginning the interior work of the temple. Our most important task is ahead of us: to communicate with the world and enlist the support and contributions of devotees and pious souls. We want to move the deities to the new temple by 2016, which is the 50th anniversary of ISKCON. Let us all together participate in completing this project to offer our beloved Srila Prabhupada this wonderful gift of gratitude, the TVOP in Mayapur, the Dham he saw as his own place of worship. We must first build this temple in our hearts and minds. We feel great joy to have this opportunity to share in this shining vision of our saints and gurus. To work for the completion of the Lord's plan is the greatest adventure and the greatest satisfaction. It is time for each of us to step forward and contribute something to this divine endeavor. With your support, we will see this through. It is within our reach. So, Haribol. Haribol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, I'll stop here. I don't think we have time for questions. I don't think anyone really has questions, but then I'll play a short 6-minute video and then we'll go on with the program. And if you feel encouraged and inspired to give a donation today, I can take any donations. Right now our campaign is called the Square Foot Campaign. Everyone, the temple, actually Radha Jivan will explain in the video, but it's the temple is 400,000 square feet. It's built large enough to house 10,000 devotees at one time. Biggest kirtan hall in the world. Half of it has been constructed. Now the interior is being worked on and the domes. And we're raising the funds for $150 per square foot. You can buy more than 1 square foot, but that's what we're asking. And the video will explain more.
How much is the cost of the whole temple?
The cost of the whole $75 million.
Is there a website?
Yes, TOVP.org. Unfortunately, they didn't put it on the banner, but it's very easy to remember. TOVP, Temple of the Vedic Planetarium.org. You can also donate online through PayPal. I'll give you an address, a brochure. You can mail a check in, etc., however you would like to do it. Thank you, Hare Krishna. And let me.
Where are they going to do it when they move the deities in the whole temple?
I don't know. I'm sure it will become a very useful hall for lectures and special programs that they have there in Mayapur. Can everyone see the screen, the wall? There we are. Incorrect password. Okay, it's not. Okay. So this is a short 6-minute documentary. And later, while everyone's taking prasadam, I'll have a video with actual photos of the temple.
Prabhupada was planning a project that was far bigger than ever had been attempted by anyone else.
Temple like this has never been built for hundreds of years. You want to make this like a gem.
Prabhupada wanted to build a planetarium because he wanted to prove to the whole world that the Big Bang theory is wrong and Krishna is the cause of all causes.
We are actually standing at the moment where the actual gardens will be for the big temple. There'll be beautiful ponds and beautiful roadways and trees and flower beds everywhere.
The Temple of Vedic Planetarium is something really astonishing because in the history of mankind there isn't anything like that.
Mayapur is the home for all devotees. This is the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so the mercy here is very, very easy to obtain.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Mayapur is the heart and the home of the Sankirtan movement. It's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's home, and it's where the spiritual world has descended to the material plane and continues to touch the material plane, and therefore energizes us, especially when we chant Hare Krishna in front of Panchatattva.
The temple that we're building will have the largest kirtan hall in the world. It's over 1.5 acres. So for people to come and experience that is extremely important.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
What we want is that this Adbhut Mandir, or this extraordinary temple, should be built in an extraordinary way.
Srila Prabhupada asked me to help finance this temple. So far, I've put in about $23 million. Right now, we're kind of moving from phase 1 into phase 2. We're asking devotees from around the world and well-wishers from around the world to please come and help us participate in completing this temple.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Srila Prabhupada said, sources of fund means that we collect all over the world. And he also said, all of our branches will gladly contribute. We have divided up the construction of this temple into square footage. So the total construction of this temple is 425,000 square feet. That's how big it's going to be. Half is already built. The other half, now we need 250,000 square feet to be constructed. So we're looking for those 250,000 enthusiastic devotees, spiritualists, people of humanity to come forward and donate $150, which is the cost of construction. Here, with $150, you practically can own 1 square foot of this great temple that will stand generations after generations. The world is becoming bombarded with negative news, with negativity, with bad things happening all around us. Only a few moments in our lives we have an opportunity to see, to witness or to participate in something grand, in something positive, in something that we can leave behind, that our children, our grandchildren can be proud of. And this is that one opportunity. We want to build this temple and offer it to Srila Prabhupada in 2016. 2016 is the 50th anniversary. It is the golden jubilee of this society. For 50 years, we have cherished spiritual life given to us by Lord Chaitanya, given to us by our acharyas, given to us by these great scriptures, given to us specially by this great personality, Srila Prabhupada. So as an offering to him, we want to give him this. That, my dear sir, all together, so many of us, we have put this temple together for you so that the world can benefit. And this is our gift of gratitude to you in this 50th anniversary.
This Mayapur temple is actually going to be a very historic and significant contribution to the culture of the world. Eventually, people from all over the world would come here to Mayapur, West Bengal, India, and see that as a source of real education and knowledge about the purpose of human life and how to fulfill its potential.
Presence of this temple, the manifestation of this Adbhuta Mandir will draw out increased potency from Panchatattva because more people will come here.
Lord Chaitanya came to show everyone the ultimate expression of love. And I mean, that's a driving force in the whole world for everybody.
That's all. Now we can have our kirtan. Celebrate.
Sir, I have a question. I had that in mind that, they're showing, like they explain spiritual and material world. See, I had that in mind that, that when they're going to build this planetarium, there will be, like Sadhaputta Das Goswami, how he had the material world.
Yeah.
And the Meru Parvat and all those Indrapuri and everything. Are they
It's
going to
be
something like that?
inside the temple itself.
But they didn't show anything,
No, they didn't show that part of it, but it will. There's a longer version of this.
No, how they're going to? Are they going to be? They're going to be pictures on the wall.
No, the actual moving.
Brahmand hanging there.
Hanging
that's what I was envisioning.
in the temple, yeah.
Because I was expecting to see that here. Because they should show it.
They have.
This is just a building, nothing else, just like any other temple.
Yeah.
But this is planetarium, and I was expecting to see that. So they have to add that. They can make pictures or something, because to tell you the truth, to me it's another building. But I don't see anything special in planetarium.
So there's a longer documentary which shows the whole thing.
No, I want to know, are they going to have a Brahman, with the physical, planets, like a Meru Parvat, like a material world?
Yeah.
How the Shwetadeep and Garbhadatik Sai Vishnu is sitting there. The real, 3D.
Yeah, it's all going to be three-dimensional, moving planets and the whole universe rotating right in the hall as you go inside, going all the way to the top of the dome.
Okay, so the dome which I just saw,
Yeah.
Okay, that I was expecting.
Besides that,
there's a longer version if you go on YouTube or if you just Google it. It is a longer version and show the height, the whole thing with the giant.
Yeah, that's fine. I can see. But when I got this pamphlet, I was expecting to see that.
Okay.
It was, if you can add that, because it is, for me, it's another building.
2016
we have to.
See that. 2016 will show a real picture.
No, but
you have to see the longer version. I guess there isn't time to show the longer version.
That is the main dome.
Main dome is the planetarium, but there's also going to be a planetarium theater. also a theater, like, you know, when you go to New York, you go to Planetarium, I guess. So it's actually a theater as well.
Okay, any more questions? Because we're running out of time. Any more questions? Anybody, please?
Babuji, I had a question. You said that for this yoga, deity worship is not the prescribed method, but we are doing this huge deity worship attempt.
Yeah. Because our acharyas have also recommended the Pancharatra system of deity worship, but it's not quite as elaborate as in the Dvapara Yuga. It's much more elaborate. But it's recommended deity worship keeps us regulated, clean, the mind pure, to have the form of the Lord. Even, the 6 Goswamis had their own deities. They kept them. So
the deity worship is included.
So we do need that deity worship as helpful for us.